So, Jones, the next two cards are indicated to you, and then after that, I'll have specific cards that are
Separate?
indicated to Joe Clark.
Oh, so-
Correct. So, Joe Jones, I'll read both cards, they're very similar. The one says, Protect Lake Beulah endorsed Joe Kwiatkowski, but did they offer you reasonable opportunity? The second reads, Protect Lake Beulah endorsed Joe Kwiatkowski, but did they offer you a reasonable opportunity? And why do you think they chose Joe Kwiatkowski?
Good questions. I would say no, I was not offered reasonable opportunity to discuss with the leadership of PLB. I met with a couple of gentlemen over here for breakfast. I met with another board member at another time. The Protect Lake Beulah leader cornered me in the hallway outside of a Lake Beulah Management District meeting, and we exchanged phone numbers, and that's the last time I heard from him. I expressed to him in the hallway that I'm a pontooner, I don't like wakes, so I should be the first one to support a ban, but I'm not, because it's not the American way. It's not the way we work together and have mutual respect for each other. I don't think I was given sufficient opportunity to express where I was going, but clearly, with the insistence that this has to go to a ban, I just question, why was Joe Kwiatkowski endorsed over there and put on their website? That's where I would leave that question. What was the last question?
It was just basically that they had endorsed Joe Kwiatkowski, and then did they offer you a reasonable opportunity?
So-
And why do you think they chose Joe Kwiatkowski?
Kind of similar. No, I would ask you that question, please. Why would you endorse somebody if your mission is to ban the vote? I don't know what else answer you can get, but ask him. Maybe he'll tell you here.
What do you want?
Okay,
Ban the vote.
your
Oh,
question.
that's mine, that's not his.
That was
No.
yours, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
all
He gets
right.
a separate
Too bad.
But I can answer it too.
Sure, go for it. Then I'll ask the question.
I'll stand on my record. I mean, I have a long track record of protecting the environment in the town. It's pretty easy. Now, as far as them endorse me or not, that is their choice. And as far as them being in favor of a ban, I don't think they're unanimous. They haven't ferreted that out yet. They went on record of what they said, but they have a very, very large group that are gonna still have discussions, possibly in these upcoming things, so, okay.
All right, your question is, why is Protect Lake Beulah endorse you, and did you in any way commit to ban wake boats?
I can just imagine with that one. You know what? There's only two ways to look at things, all right? And I know all about the gray stuff because I dealt with the DNR and the DOT and Federal Highway and Federal EV. It's right and wrong, okay? I'm always do the right thing, all right? No matter what. But as far as why did they endorse me, I think they've known me, a lot of people on both those groups have known me for 20 years, okay? And the discussion as far as banning or not banning, no. That would be, I heard that word in the past, a quid pro quo or something thing, okay? Ain't none of that, because that doesn't work in local government. Everybody in this town, 4,000 people at that size, you're neighbors. You should treat each other like neighbors, okay? And we haven't had that much luck with that, you know? I think most of the time, reasonable people sitting down discussing it honestly will come to a conclusion or maybe a consensus amongst themselves of saying, yeah, I can live with that. So, the question was direct of saying, did I
Commit?
commit? No. That's one thing you don't do in any level of government. Making promises that you don't have sole control over. I have no sole control. Joe said, we have one vote. One vote on the board. You're just a board member that runs the meeting. You got one vote. So to say that one person can do anything, that's not right.
All right, we'll move on to our next question, and you can stay standing, and this is a little in the same area, and the last question, and then we'll move on to some other ones. The township is currently reviewing a temp request for a seaplane to land on Lake Beulah. If this is approved, how would future requests be turned down after setting a precedent?
Okay.
Lake Beulah is too crowded for seaplanes.
Okay, it did come to the board. Matter of fact, the first time it came was an email to me saying, it was a resident from, I believe, town of Lafayette, and he owns a nice seaplane, and he said he wanted to be able to land and take off on Lake Beulah. And I said, I'm not putting it on the agenda, but I said, if you want to forward that to the entire board, maybe somebody on the board would put it on. Somebody did. So we had a discussion, and I told him, I says, that lake, again, I had mentioned before about the users. I didn't put pontoons in there, but that's another one. Pontoons, paddle boarders, swimmers, you name it, Lake Beulah's got it. And you can imagine a plane coming in there and saying, oh, well, I'll take a flyover, and if it looks good, I'll come around and I'll land safely. No. So I'm definitely 100% against that, and I told the reasons why, both to him in an email, and I read them aloud in a meeting. And it will probably come back up again. Matter of fact, some people thought, I think the quote was, I think it would be kind of neat, and it's like, no. Delvin Lake, maybe? Okay. I fished that one a lot too, and that's kind of set up possibly better because of the size and the length of it. Lake Beulah has got so many bays and nooks and crannies. No way, you know. I think the same would go for Powder Lake, because to say how a lake is used, you can't really guess. But I'll tell you, on Delvin Lake, most of the people are sticking closer to the shore, so you have the great expanse in the middle that likely is open, you know. And that's 2,000 acres, and Beulah's 850 or something. So that to me would be a definite no.
Same one? No.
No, that was the.
Is that just me?
No, that was the same one, sorry, that was for both. So do you want me to repeat it?
Seaplanes?
Yes, the seaplanes.
So, again, I'm going to talk about process and how government should work. It's not up to me to make that decision. It's up to the town to make that decision. And based upon what I saw, first off, I will disagree with how it got to the board. It went to an email to Joe Klarkowski, and he stopped it right there. Didn't go anywhere. The guy had to come to the board meeting, and he had to say, hey, I called you twice, I've sent you this email, and I didn't get a response, the courtesy of a response. And I didn't know in the ordinance, he says in the ordinance, that it says the board will judge, not the chairman. And so he had to come and make a stink at a board meeting in public comments, and then it was now in the open, and it got put on the agenda to discuss in the future. So that's exactly where everything that comes before us as a board has to be thought of in terms of there's 4,000 people in this town that have a say in this. And are you going to get all 4,000 to respond? Absolutely not. You're not going to do it ever, probably. But we can do better than what we have right now. And the first step is to proactively communicate information. That means use every means possible. That means Facebook, that means website, that means everything you can do. And that will now push information out. We got an electors meeting coming up. We have a big hot button wake vote that's coming up. Have you seen an announcement on the website or in Facebook or anything saying, hey, guys, this is important, you gotta be there. Twice a week it should be going out if we really want people to show up. So, seaplanes, that should go through the same process. If it's not meant to be, it won't be, right? It's not up to me to make that predetermination. It's up for us to put it in front of the board, put it in fact, did we have a public hearing? I think we were trying to. The whole point for me is we don't have enough public hearings. Put it in front of there and make an attempt to honestly cover both sides of things. One of the things that could happen in that seaplane thing, and I'm not suggesting this is my opinion, I'm just saying, what if we're really trying to reach across the aisle and work with each other, what if you allow the guy to land once and you schedule it and you tell everybody on the lake that he's going to land and you videotape it and now you show that to everybody, you can actually say, wow, that's really not that bad, or wow, that is terrible. And then you can now get informed citizens to vote. We don't go to that level, and I want to see more of that, and that's what I'm running on.
All right, Joe, if you want to take the microphone, we're gonna throw one in
Wasn't
here.
requested on Potters.
We'll put one in here for the church. So the question is, how important are the 10 Commandments to you, and would people that you know the best agree that you seek to live by these commands?
Is that me again?
Yes.
Okay.
Go first.
You'll get me started on the origins of our country. If you go back and look at the founding fathers, our country was formed on the morals that came out of Judeo-Christian values. That's just fact. If you go and look at all the Philadelphia papers and everything, you will find that most of them had deep beliefs in religion and Christ. And so the fact that the 10 Commandments were the morals that our country was founded on, and really the morals we have drifted away and why we're seeing so much decay in our society, I think we need more of it. And will somebody say I live by that? Boy, I would hope they would say I'm trying. I am not going to say I am living up to those standards. Maybe my 4-year-old grandson is living up to those standards. I don't know. But that's my opinion on where morals belong.
Repeat it, please.
Certainly. How important are the 10 Commandments to you, and would people that you know best agree that you seek to live by these commands?
Okay. I think as far as rules go, probably everybody in this room, probably the first set of rules that you probably heard probably was the 10 Commandments. And that's the way people should live their life. All of the issues that laws are based on, if you look at them, really come down to they didn't follow one of those commandments, right? And that's why all of these rules or the regulations or the laws are written. My parents were extremely strict, so I'm not going to say I was going to fight that. Thank you very much. Like I said, I would take advantage of that being so strict for me to fight them. I look more actually to my grandparents, who were, I'd call them more seasoned and more calm when they spoke about that. And I think every time I was at my grandparents' place, at least once, one of those commandments came up. Okay, it wasn't preaching, you know, but you know, neighbors, you know, somebody stole the kid's bike. Well, don't they know about the commandment? And then you have to follow some set of guidelines, otherwise, what? We're all running amok? Chaos, all right? That's why there's rules. It's just like the Constitution, both of them, the state of Wisconsin and the U.S. Okay? That says how government operates, all right? 10 Commandments is more of how are you living, you know? So I would say most of the people that I deal with are probably on that same standard. If they're totally against, you know, what you call some type of righteous living or some type of a decent person, well, you probably don't associate with them. So, I think that's my answer.
Okay, I'll have you remain standing. I have quite a few index cards filled out. I think what I'm going to do here is read through most of them quickly because they're all related. But I wanted to give everybody justice to their specific questions, so I do want to read them all. I will pause on some that have more detailed, like yes or no, maybe a quicker answer, because I know there's going to be a lot for you to exactly remember. Okay, so I'm just going to begin here, and the first one is, in August, Joe Kwiatkowski said, "I'm not proud to be part of this board," and you ignored all the evidence and instructions regarding the 3-2 vote to approve Strauss rezoning. What are your thoughts about that?
Get one at a time, okay, that's correct. In August, I said to the board after the town board voted 3-2 to overturn the Plan Commission 6-1 recommendation to us. And our attorney, we pay decent money, I mean, he's actually pretty reasonable price, but he gives advice to the board, okay? And he gave advice to the board on, hey, if you're gonna vote against this thing, you have to state the reasons why, and you have to say, you know, what those reasons were that were at the public hearing. That was ignored, okay? Not to mention there was a private meeting out there, and that's also against, you know, against the law, the way I see it. Okay, so I stated, again, I wanna be honest, at that time, I'm thinking, well, no reason at all, just throw away the Plan Commission and vote against them. So I did say, I am not proud of that board.
Okay. I think Joe Jones could maybe answer this one too. Do you have a comment?
Okay.
And then we'll go back to Joe
Maybe
Kwiatkowski.
quicker. And it was I'm not proud.
I'm not proud.
I'm not proud to be part of this board, and you ignored all the evidence and instructions regarding the 3-2 vote to approve Strauss rezoning. What are your thoughts about that?
I'll tell you, I don't, we have been back and forth on whether things are quasi-judicial, whether they're legislative, whether you can vote on it. And no, I was just kidding. There's been a lot of attorney guidance that I have had trouble with as watching from the audience. So if there was a requirement to put something in writing, it should have been clearly communicated to these people what the expectations were. One of the things about, I've come into a lot of board meetings, and these agenda items just pop up, and we come up to one, and Chairman Kwiatkowski would say, this is gonna be what we're gonna talk about on this, and there was at least 1 to 2 supervisors that just go, where'd this come from? I could see it in their face, and that means we're not communicating. That means we're not providing the information necessary for these people to come prepared to make votes. And so if they're confused, how can we expect them to perform? We also, I'll bring up the proud bit. I would say if he's not proud of the board, then he's probably not proud of his ability to guide that board. That's just where I would put it, because if as a supervisor, that person is not conducting themselves properly, what have I done as a chairman to help them educate themselves, mentor them, whatever it would be, and have them come into a board meeting and make a legitimate vote the proper way? So do I put that all on brand new? In fact, one of my public comments, I don't know if I published it, but one of my public comments early on, and I don't know if that was Michelle Reyes or I don't know. I don't remember what timing. I started in June 22 going to meetings. And one of my questions was, it seems to me that for the success of the board, the senior members of the board should be mentoring the junior members. And I just wasn't seeing that happening, not by the behaviors that were taking place by the junior members. They were generally confused when I saw them. So I don't know if that answers your question. That's why I type things down, because I talk too much.
Okay,
Which
well,
way?
Joe
Thank
Kwiatkowski.
you. I guess we'll just stay standing, huh?
Can I say something
Yeah,
before? Can I say something before we get to the next question?
sure.
This issue come up with training. I know this is not a rebuttal type of thing, but I met with both new supervisors at my house. Joe, you were there for an hour, and Tyson Leonard for an hour and a half. We went through, this is what you're gonna need, here's what you gotta study, here's what you gotta do, and you gotta go to training, and you got a question, anytime, call me. I have yet to get a question, and it's almost a year now from either of the two newest ones on, home business. One-on-one we can talk, never happened, okay? And there's training offered by the town association and Walworth County that has been skipped by the new people. And it's incumbent that if you're gonna take a position in government, that you get yourself up to speed. Thank you.
All right. To Joe Kwiatkowski, how can the electors trust that if you get reelected, you won't change your mind and resign again? It seems that when you don't get your way, you quit. The second one is, why did you resign in February, blame the county, town board, and citizens, then change your mind? Another one, you blamed county, town board, citizens for your resignation. Why and how can you have trust and credibility after that? How do you think you can govern when you made such negative comments about the town supervisors and the county? Why did you quit, then put your name back in the race? Given your known history and admission of being unable to make East Troy a promise of 2 or more years of being chairman, why should the town overlook your tarnishing of the town board and the county board, and how do you plan to repair those relationships? You resigned February 4th, then you changed your mind to run again. Why? You also changed your mind about tonight. Why? You've referred to a I think that one will do.
I think that's enough for one.
Yeah, I think
One
they
starting
all
point.
kind of cover the same thing.
It's for everybody.
Wandering minds.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the same answer that I gave to Susan Steele. She wrote an article, and she asked kind of the same question. And I said, I did resign for the reasons listed in my letter posted to the town website. This allows me to speak freely about some adverse decisions made by the town board in Walworth County. I didn't feel it'd be proper to do while a sitting board member. I am highlighting serious issues. I was never not running for re-election. That's a fact. I never told anybody I wasn't running. I am on the ballot, and I am concerned about the alternative, a chairman with no town board experience. So when I resigned, that's the reasons I did it. And again, the letter made sure it got to the whole town, so they could see it, okay? I had some death issues going on too, that's not to do with this specifically, but the timing of it, the election coming up, and all the stuff that was going on, I'm going, I have to be able to speak freely, and if I'm on the board, I am not gonna speak bad about Joe or Michelle or Tyson, okay? I'm not on the board now, so I can tell the truth about some of the stuff that's been going on. That's why I did it. And as far as can you trust me, I lived, like I said, 36 years in the town here, all right? This is my home, all right? And people said I abandoned the town. No, I was interviewing 2 design firms for the Beach Road Bridge replacement today, all right? I'm still doing road research for the town that I've been doing on my own dime for probably 10 years now, because the surveyors don't have records of our road right-of-ways good enough, okay? And you know, as far as relationships, on a board, when you have a 3-person board, you always come to pretty much a consensus. You have a 5-man board, it's typical that you have the 4-1-3-2 votes. That causes a little derision in itself, but we're all professional enough to deal with it. Matter of fact, at the meeting I had at my house with Joe, you said that you really enjoyed debate when you were in high school. You're a good debater. You are, okay? The question always becomes then, all right, an issue comes up on the board, all right? Are we gonna disagree? Likely. Are we gonna come to a resolution? Yes, because we have to. We have to vote, and whatever the vote is, that's what it is. As a matter of fact, I told Tyson Leonard, it was after the 3rd meeting, I said, if you're gonna worry and lose sleep over a vote you took, because you're on the board, you'll never sleep again. You won't, okay? You do your due diligence, you do your research, you debate, and you vote. It's that simple, okay? So as far as, you know, staying on, well, yeah, I mean, I don't do this for my health. I don't do it for the money. I do it because I want to help, you know, the citizens in the town of East Troy. And I know a lot of people in the town now that understand how I do business. And I am no nonsense. I tell it straight, okay? Everything's out in the open, there's no secrets. That's what I do. That's me. I believe I answered all of those, but yes, 2 years, and I am committing for 2 years. That's what, if you vote in an election and you win, you have a term. Now, if a healthier reason comes up or something like that, that's possible. Who knows that? Nobody here knows what you're gonna feel like next year. You don't. So, I believe I answered those like 6 questions. But they're all.
They were all pretty much the same,
No.
so I think they were looking for an explanation for it. Okay, Joe Jones? There is one question on the same topic for you. Do you have any comments on Krakowski's resignation? Is he really campaigning after resigning? Do you have anything you would like to say?
This is another one it's another elephant in the room that has been bantered about on social media and everything, and I wanted to address it tonight. The fact that he showed up tonight unannounced for the most part is the same confusion that has been going on the board that I have seen for the last 3 years. I've tried to work with Joe for the past 3 years with very mixed success. I really feel his resignation letter reveals his character and indicates his perceived role on the board. I think it also sheds some light on his motivations for holding public office. In his mind, nothing is his fault, effectively indicating his lack of accountability. Everybody on there, nothing on there in that resignation letter said that I feel bad because I was unable to accomplish anything. It's all about the county and citizens and everybody else. So that's what I'm talking about. This last year has been very telling because the status quo prior to 24 was challenged due to the makeup of the board, and it revealed the town government of old might have been focused on achieving specific outcomes instead of attempting to be neutral and representing the entire 4,000 people. I also think this letter reveals a lack of stability, and I'm not sure how the citizens of the town could ever consider him trustworthy again. What I can make a claim to you is I will finish out my term, and if I'm doing a good job as chairman, I don't need to resign so I can tell stories about other supervisors. It just doesn't, that's not consistent with who I am, and it's definitely not consistent with the values that we talked about earlier. Did I answer, did you have another one?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'll go on to, let's just stay up and I'll go on to the next one. And you already touched base on this a little bit. The question to both was, if you get elected, are you willing to commit to the voters that you will serve your full term, even if some votes on the board don't go your way?
Absolutely. The best vote as a board member is one that you disagree with, but you have to vote yes for. And one of the points is, I might have a personal position, 1 in 4,000. I might have that position. What you'll find out with me is I investigate research. I try to understand my subjects before I head down a path. One of my efforts as chairman is going to be to help educate the other supervisors as best I can in the board meetings. And consequently, who else is going to get educated? All the people that come and sit there and participate in the board meeting. And my hope would be, as we discuss more things, we get into more detail and help people understand more about each subject. I think people will want to come. This is educational. This is their government, and now they can understand it. I don't think it's understandable today. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, I have two that I'm gonna read for you, Joe Klarkowski.
Did I answer this one?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I did. Votes going your way, I just addressed that. Again, I told Ty Leonard, he said, you know, you vote, you do your work, you vote, and you sleep, all right? That is the reality. So after 20 years of doing this, I'm not in a position to say it's gonna bother me, because you do your best. Joe said, do your homework. Everybody's gotta do their homework, because we're 1/5 of the vote. So, yeah, and full time, well, yes, that's a given, it's an absolute, and yes, I will. I mean, why wouldn't I? The whole premise of saying, you know, I'm not reliable, that goes counter to anybody who knows me in this town. And like I mentioned before, there's 4,000 great people in this town, there really is. And but I'm there to represent everybody. You can't say this is mine, and boy, I really like that, or yeah, that guy seems like a pretty good. No, none of that counts. None of that counts. You do your homework, you do your research, and you vote, and you sleep.
All right, this one is, I want to read, it's kind of on the same agenda, but refers to a specific group that's looking for an answer, I believe. So you referred to the Facebook group Informed Citizens as misinformed citizens. You also mentioned not so honorable citizens on your resignation letter. Can you explain specifically examples?
I've been calling that site the Misinformed Citizen since they started lying during COVID. Hasn't changed. And again, I can accept the fact that there's a difference of opinion. People have opinions, and they can state it. But if you state something that you know is an absolute lie, now you're basically, you know, getting into the law part of it. I'm not going there, okay? I tried to be honorable and straight up, so what I've seen on that site is just one lie after another. The recent ones, well, you know, Joe ain't running and he's doing this as a scam, or I forget the exact words, a ploy, you know, or I'm abandoning the town or the county. No, like I said, today I'm interviewing engineers for the bridge, okay? So the whole idea of what's out there, I got no control over it. Our attorney looks at it and he said, yeah, well, that's a lie, and that's a lie, and I know that for a fact that's a lie. And I can't go there. As a matter of fact, I thought when I resigned that not only doing the personal contact with people and telling the truth about what's been going on, I thought I was gonna get onto that page, okay? And matter of fact, I think I was even invited. And after I looked at what's in there, I'm going, I can't stoop that low. I'm not going to stoop that low. I'm gonna keep everything above board, honest and straight. People that objected or given honest opinions on that site, they were blocked, their posts were taken down, okay? And that's not right. You talk about transparency, and in the same breath, you're blocking the full opinions of people, actually a lot of them, that know what the answer was. So, social media is a new thing, in my view, in government. Every training session I went to a towns association, they got 4 or 5 attorneys on staff for the town association, and they said, as far as town officers getting on there, don't do it. It causes nothing but problems, it causes legal issues. As a matter of fact, if you got, in our case, 3 board members that would comment on that site, that entire site becomes a public record. all of it, okay? And our attorney at the orientation for new supervisors says, don't do it, stay off of it. And we have board members that do it. And I'm calling it out, I'm saying, it's just not right, okay? So, there's several up there now, and I believe they're specifically created probably just to tarnish my reputation, okay? That's not right. That's not how you do it. You're gonna come to a meeting and state your views and your facts, okay? And have an honest discussion. And anything other than that is gossip. I don't think that's in the Ten Commandments, but there's something close there about gossip. And that's what I feel.
Golden rule, I think. I'm sorry I lost where you were.
That one was specifically for Joe Kwiatkowski, unless you
Okay.
want to make a comment on it, that's fine also, otherwise we can go on to the next question. This was about the informed citizens misinformation.
I'll make a comment.
Okay.
So 3 years I've been going to meetings, and I haven't particularly felt as though I've been listened to. Just quite honest. And frustration builds. And the only outlet, so if there's a lot of activity going on social media, then the town isn't communicating. They're not doing their job. It's got to, that's how I would look at it as chairman. I would say, what am I doing wrong? What are we doing wrong as a town? Because if the communication is going out, then you won't have to social media discuss things. The whole reason why those started, and I'll tell you, quite frankly, I tried to have conversations early on in 22. I got on the communications committee, and then we disbanded it, even though I had listed, that's another public comment on my website. You can feel free to go to that. But I talked about what that communications committee could have been to help the town do more proactive communication. It was flat out disbanded, and I know there was at least 2 supervisors that raised their eyebrows and said, what? And so, was that communicated ahead before it showed up on the agenda, and then all of a sudden they got a vote on this? I don't know. I'm not gonna answer that question because I wasn't there. But the bottom line is, if social media is getting the attention it's getting, then the town isn't doing its job. And that's the way I would use it as a barometer for how well I'm doing as chairman. And did I have another?
That's the new one that's coming.
Oh,
You get the next one.
okay.
And make of this question as you will. Please share your take on personal responsibility as that appears to surface all over media. You would think as adults we should know this.
I love that question. I don't know who asked that. I wrote an entire document. It's one of my top 3. We show up with 12 ordinances instead of holding people accountable. I've been in front of the board for 3 years, like I said. I have witnessed at least 2 or 3 times where personal neighbor squabbles are coming before the board. And it's repeat. And it's ridiculous. I don't understand why we would allow that to happen. The town is for the town. It's to solve town issues. It's to create ordinances to deal with 4,000 and the public safety. And it's the last resort. First, I have listed, I don't remember, 9 steps, probably 9 steps before we get to the adoption of an ordinance. I see Carla back there. She brought up when this whole ordinance stuff was going on with containers and everything, and she said that we need a procedure to tell how we're gonna put a new ordinance in place. And so the town did draft that through the attorney, but it left out all these pieces. And it's about personal responsibility and mutual respect. It's about holding people accountable to each other. It's about being a good neighbor. And I think we need to uphold those values before we start putting a bunch of ordinances out, and then we create so much busy work
for the police force that the police don't have time to enforce all this stuff. I mean, it grows out of control. It's some of the things we're seeing at the national level with over-regulation and everything. I think we can be good neighbors, and I think we just have to hold each other accountable to that first, before we get to the final stage, which is an ordinance. So, does that answer it?
Thank you. Yes. Do you want me to reread it?
Please.
Please share your take on personal responsibility, as that appears to surface all over social media, or over media. You would think as adults, we should know this.
I think recognizing chatter versus facts is the first thing that comes to mind. And personal responsibility is just that. And as a matter of fact, I heard the words, being a good neighbor, all right? So anytime you have an issue that comes up to the board, like I said, you research, you discuss, you vote. And personal responsibility, as it would say, as it would pertain to ordinances, is a separate discussion that really has been misrepresented totally, all right? We have a lot of ordinances, all of them for a reason, and the 12 you mentioned, half of them were punctuation, or the judge said this law changed for these two, and the attorney said, I was just at a legal seminar, and we have to update this because there was a court case. When they come up, we handle them. Every year we do some, all right? The new one that you made reference to, like the container ordinance, whatever, again, we get a petition, we have to act on it. And the process and procedure is always a question, but we don't go there and say, all right, Mr. Mills, we want you to review all of our ordinances. For what? Well, to see how they look. That ain't how it's done. We get complaints from people that say, this doesn't work. We just had another one on the bonfires and the outdoor fires and whatever. A grill, outside grill or outside fire pit, like a gas one, it's not addressed in the ordinance. So you gotta change it. And matter of fact, you even did some research yourself. The fire chief did some, and Barb Church did some. And all these things come up, and talk about personal responsibility. I'll look at the comments you make, and you made a lot of them, and we did take into account many of them. None were ignored. We listened to everybody. We always do. Do we act on the way you think it should be? Not all the time, no. So we have to always look out as if, how you treat your neighbor, do unto others, that whole deal. Put yourself in that guy's shoes. Right there, and say, okay, now does it make sense? Did we follow the law? And if you can answer that question honestly, I'll go back to my same thing. Now you can sleep again at night. Because if you don't, you're going to be rolling around saying, I should probably added that, or you know what, I think it was a close call, but I ignored that one comment. But again, you're looking out for the entire town, not one person or two.